The wind cut sharply across the base courtyard as the single dad, Ayan Malik, pushed his mop bucket toward the massive steel doors of the Navy strategy wing. He had worked the night shift every day for the past 3 years, but nothing about this building ever became less intimidating. High walls, award plaques, flags from every era, a place meant for legends, not for janitors struggling to raise a daughter alone. But Ayan never cared about how people saw him, he only cared about finishing his shift before his daughter woke up for school. Tonight, though, something felt different. The guards were tense, radios buzzing non-stop, officers rushing. "Admirals in the hall," one whispered. Ayan kept his head down, until the admiral himself stopped right in front of him. Admiral Cole Renner, a man whose presence could silence an entire auditorium, stared at Ayan with amused curiosity. "You there," he said, adjusting the ribbons on his uniform. "What's your rank, son?" It sounded like a harmless joke, the kind officers sometimes used to lighten the night staff's mood. Several captains nearby smirked. Ayan simply paused. He didn't take offense, he'd heard far worse in life. But he also wasn't a man who hid from truth. He leaned on the mop handle and answered calmly, "Fleet Commander, retired." All laughter died instantly. The hallway froze as if the world had slammed its brakes. The Admiral blinked twice, the color draining from his face. For a moment, Admiral Renner looked like he hadn't heard correctly. "Fleet Commander, of which fleet?" he demanded, voice cracking slightly. Ayan didn't shift, didn't puff his chest, didn't raise his tone. "North Atlantic Response Division. Commission ended 8 years ago." The surrounding officers exchanged shocked glances. That division wasn't ordinary, it handled classified rescue missions, disaster extractions, and high-risk evacuations where failure meant thousands of deaths. Everyone knew the stories but never the names. The Admiral staggered back. "Impossible, they said you were gone." Ayan just resumed mopping. "Gone, yes. Dead, no." Renner's pulse hammered visibly at his temple. Every classified briefing he'd read about the mysterious commander, code name, Falcon, flashed back. That ghost of a man had led impossible missions, disappeared civilians from war zones, saved crews from sinking carriers, and vanished before praise could find him. And now he was, mopping floors. "Why would someone like you end up here?" the Admiral whispered. Ayan wrung out the mop calmly. "Because my daughter deserves a father more than the world needs a soldier." The Admiral swallowed hard, stunned by the simplicity of the answer. No medals, no speeches, just a man choosing his child over glory. Still shaken, Renner motioned to his officers. "Leave us." Once alone, he stepped closer. "Your file said you were critically injured. They told the department you wouldn't survive." Ayan shrugged lightly. They weren't wrong. He pulled off his gloves, revealing deep scars crossing both wrists and forearms, evidence of the operation that almost ended him. The Admiral exhaled shakily. The rumors were true. "But why hide?" he asked. Ayan's eyes softened. "Because when I woke up, my wife was gone, and my daughter had no one. I had to disappear." The Admiral felt the weight of the revelation. He wasn't just speaking to a retired officer, he was speaking to a legend forced into silence. "Your daughter must be proud," he muttered. Ayan shook his head. "She doesn't know. She thinks I fix things for buildings, not for countries." There was no shame in his tone, just quiet protection. Renner realized then that the man before him wasn't hiding from duty. He was shielding the one part of his life that gave him peace. And somehow, the Admiral envied him for it. Admiral Renner stepped closer, his voice lowering to a tone Ayan had never heard from a high-ranking officer, almost pleading. "Why didn't you reach out? We would have supported you. You saved half of us more times than we can count." Ayan gave a faint, tired smile. "Support comes with attention. Attention comes with questions. And I couldn't afford questions, not when my daughter was still learning to sleep without nightmares." The Admiral froze. He understood. The cost of service wasn't just physical wounds, it was the cracks it left in families. Ayan continued, "She was 5, Admiral. 5. Every time someone in uniform came near her, she thought they were there to take me away again." His eyes glimmered with a sorrow that didn't need words. Renner's chest tightened. "And you carried all that alone." Ayan nodded. "Some burdens can't be shared." The Admiral's gaze drifted down the hallway to where the American flag hung still. "You fought for the country, but the country failed to fight for you." Ayan didn't respond, he didn't need to. Instead, He focused on the floor he was cleaning, as if scrubbing away memories rather than dirt. My wife left because she couldn't handle the life. My daughter, she only had me. So I traded titles for visibility, missions for meals, rank for responsibility. Renner rubbed his face, overwhelmed. The idea that a man once trained to lead fleets now spent nights mopping polished floors felt wrong in ways he couldn't articulate. Do you miss it? Renner finally asked. The command, the missions, the adrenaline. Ian stopped mid-swipe. I miss the purpose, he admitted quietly. But not the noise, not the politics, and not the funerals. His voice was jagged at the last word. The Admiral felt a chill. Ian continued, purpose can look different. Right now, it's making sure my daughter wakes up to breakfast. Sometimes purpose is quieter than people expect. Renner nodded slowly. He'd commanded men, ships, entire operations, but something about Ian's simplicity made him feel small. As if all his achievements still lacked the clarity this janitor carried in his silence. A sudden alarm beeped in the Admiral's pocket. He ignored it, refusing to step away from the man who had just shattered every assumption he held. You belong out there, Commander, Renner insisted. The Navy needs minds like yours. There are threats rising you wouldn't believe. Ian simply leaned back against the mop handle. The world always has threats. But my daughter only has one father. The Admiral opened his mouth to argue but found no words. How could he challenge a father's oath? It wasn't dereliction of duty, it was choosing a different battlefield, one far more personal. Renner exhaled heavily. Your identity, is it safe? Ian nodded. Only two people know. My surgeon, and the officer who processed my resignation. They made sure no one could track me. The Admiral's brows knit. That's why I never saw your face in the files. Only a codename and a silhouette. Ian smirked faintly. Exactly. I'm a ghost on purpose. Renner felt a shiver. But why come work here, of all places? Ian looked around the hallway. Because it's stable. Because it pays just enough. And because I can listen. I can know if danger is coming before it touches my daughter's life. The Admiral realized then, Ian wasn't hiding. He was protecting from the shadows. A group of young naval cadets passed by, saluting the Admiral. But their eyes kept drifting toward Ian, sensing tension without understanding it. Renner waited until they disappeared. Do you ever think of returning if things got worse? He pressed. Ian's jaw tightened. If the world needed me more than my daughter did, yes. But I pray that day never comes. The Admiral studied the scars across Ian's knuckles, marks of battles fought in places that would never appear on maps. She must mean everything to you. Ian nodded. She's the reason I survived surgeries. The reason I walked again. The reason I breathe. Renner leaned against the wall, his stern composure cracking. You know, we all thought you died saving that carrier crew. Ian paused. They lived. That's enough. The Admiral shook his head. It is not enough. You disappeared without recognition, without honor, without closure. Ian looked up slowly. Recognition is for those who need the world to remember their names. I only need my daughter to remember mine. The Admiral felt an unfamiliar sting in his eyes. For years he had chased honor, medals, achievements, yet none gave him the peace this man found in anonymity. The Admiral pressed his hand against his chest, trying to calm the pounding sensation. You said you're here to listen, he muttered. Then you should know, we've lost 3 intelligence officers this week. Ian's expression sharpened instantly. Same pattern. Renner nodded grimly. Yes. And we fear someone may infiltrate the base within days. Ian inhaled slowly. That's why the guards were tense. The Admiral confirmed with a nod. Exactly. And if someone like you is working here, God knows you might be the only one who notices something the rest of us don't. Ian resumed mopping as if processing the information through movement. I'm not your commander anymore, he said softly. I'm a father. And a janitor. The Admiral stiffened. Titles don't erase talent. Ian chuckled under his breath. Talent is a burden, Admiral. One I've been trying to set down. But Renner wasn't convinced. If we are compromised, if someone dangerous gets inside, your daughter lives only 10 minutes away from this base. You think danger won't reach her? The words hit like a knife. Ian's grip on the mop tightened until his knuckles turned white. The Admiral saw it, the switch flipping in Ian's eyes. The same switch commanders described in their reports. The shift from gentle father to strategic tactician. You're not asking me to return, Ian murmured. You're telling me there's no choice. Renner swallowed. There never was. Not for men like us. Ian exhaled sharply, the hallway suddenly feeling smaller, tighter. He had rebuilt a life of peace brick by brick, yet one threat could shatter it instantly. If I help, Ian said slowly, I do it without uniform, without rank, without report. The Admiral nodded immediately. Agreed. Ian placed the mop aside and wiped his hands on his work pants. What exactly are you facing? Renner's breathing grew uneven again. We don't know who the infiltrator is, but they're skilled. Too skilled. They bypassed security systems, rerouted access logs, and erased 3 agents without leaving a trace. Ian froze. Erased. The Admiral nodded. Entirely. Ian felt a cold wave ripple through him. Then you're dealing with a ghost, he whispered. Someone like me. Renner's eyes widened. That's what terrifies me. Silence filled the corridor as Ian considered what this meant. A threat matching his skill set was no ordinary danger, it was catastrophic potential. Do you have intel? Ian asked. Renner shook his head weakly. Only fragments. Reports of someone seen near restricted areas. No face. No pattern. Just presence. Ian understood instantly. Then they're studying us. Testing the net. The Admiral nodded. Exactly. Ian rubbed his temple. This isn't infiltration. It's preparation. Renner's breath hitched. Preparation for what? Ian looked up. Extraction. Or destruction. Renner's knees buckled slightly, and he caught himself on a rail. Ian instinctively reached out. You need to sit. Your pulse is unstable. Renner waved him off. It's not my pulse. It's fear. Ian frowned. Admirals don't fear. Renner let out a humorless laugh. We do when ghosts come back to haunt us. Ian crouched to meet his eyes. Look at me. We'll figure this out. But you must stay steady. Renner took slow breaths. You always had that tone, he murmured. Even in the chaos. Ian sighed. Because panic kills faster than bullets. A quiet rumble echoed down the corridor, footsteps, many of them. Ian stood, instantly alert. The Admiral straightened too, though with less stability. A team of officers approached urgently. Sir, one shouted. We found another breach. Sector 4. Renner swayed, his vision blurring. Ian caught his arm. Easy. The officers froze at the sight of a janitor touching an admiral, unaware of the truth. Ian released him gently. Go, he said. I'll follow. Renner nodded, trusting him more than the entire team combined. Gentlemen, he ordered, he comes with us. The officers hesitated. Sir, he's janitorial staff. Renner's voice exploded through the hall. He outranks all of you combined. The officer's eyes widened, confusion spreading like wildfire. Ian closed his eyes briefly, wishing the Admiral hadn't said that, but the moment had passed. Move, Ian commanded quietly, and despite not understanding why, the officers obeyed. They rushed down the corridor together, Ian scanning every corner, every flicker of movement. His mind switched into patterns, entry points, exits, blind zones, timing. It was like slipping back into an old skin he hoped never to wear again. Sector 4 was darker than usual when they arrived. Lights flickered, air tense. Power interference, Ian muttered. Someone tampered with the grid. Renner nodded shakily. We noticed fluctuations minutes before the alert. Ian stepped ahead cautiously, ignoring the officer's protests. Quiet, he whispered. The room felt wrong, too still. Too calculated. He noticed a vent slightly ajar, a lock recently disturbed, dust disturbed in specific patterns. They were here, he murmured. Minutes ago. An officer's hand shook. Sir, what do we do? Ian exhaled deeply. We prepare. Because they will return. The Admiral leaned against the console, exhaustion finally hitting him. Ian, I can't do this without you. Ian turned to him slowly. You won't have to. Renner blinked. You're helping. Ian nodded once. Because whatever this infiltrator wants, it's connected to my old division. I can sense it. Renner's voice cracked. Then you should know, the files they targeted were yours. Ian froze. The room spun for a moment. Mine. Renner nodded. They're not after us, they're after you. Ian's jaw clenched. Then I have no choice. Ian paced slowly, thoughts grinding like gears. Someone from his past. Someone skilled enough to kill silently, bypass systems, erase evidence. Someone studying him. They think I'm still active, he muttered. Or they want revenge. Or recruitment. The Admiral dragged a hand down his face. You know who it is. Ian nodded faintly. I know the type. Only 3 operatives were ever trained like this. 2 are dead. The third, his voice tightened. He vanished years before I did. Renner swallowed hard. So he's your shadow. Ian nodded. And shadows follow where light goes. Suddenly, Renner's breathing faltered violently. He stumbled backward, hand gripping his chest. Admiral! An officer shouted. Ian caught him before he hit the floor. Renner's eyes rolled slightly, his face pale. I'm fine, he whispered, though he clearly wasn't. No, you're not, Ian said firmly. The hallway, now filled with emergency responses, blurred into chaos. But Ian stayed calm. He gently lowered the Admiral to the floor, placing a steady hand on his shoulder. Stay with me, he ordered. Renner's eyes fluttered open. Fleet, Commander, he gasped. You're not done yet. Ian's jaw tightened. Neither are you. As medics rushed in, Ian looked down the hallway, the darkness at the end pulsing like a warning. A storm was coming, and the ghost they feared was already inside.